Wow, wow, wow. What a pick. The Philadelphia Eagles with the 14th pick in the NFL draft with a lot of people left on the board go with Derek Barnett, 6'3 defensive end, 259 pounds. Solid player. However, there was a lot of talent left on the draft board. You have Dalvin Cook, you have Reuben Foster, O.J. Howard, and they decide to go with Derek Barnett, the defensive end. Doesn't exactly address a need that is needed right away. However, he is a solid player. We talked about him a lot on our live mock draft show um, yesterday, it was. And he's a solid player. He certainly is. Uh, I don't know. Initial reaction, I had no reaction. I was shell shocked. I didn't think that they would pick him. Certainly, we'll take your reaction 267-404 MYSE. If you guys want to call in and give me your reaction. But again, just shocked. He is a very good pass rusher. He broke the all-time sack record at Tennessee and broke Reggie Wright's sack record for that. Um, I don't, I don't know. I'm so shocked. I don't know what to say. He reminds me a lot of Brandon Graham. That was kind of the comp that we brought up last night, and just for the fact that he's gonna over pursue when he starts, I believe. He's not the best run help. However, he can bend the edge and go after the quarterback. He's going to be able to collapse the pocket. But the thing that gets me is he's going to be a rotational player to start out. You have Vinny Curry, you have Chris Long who's coming in. Timmy Jernigan was just brought in. Bo Allen. I mean, where are you going to fit this guy on? Where are you going to put him on the field? When are you going to line up? It's just, it's a little shocking to me. Of course, we have other needs. I really thought that they would go Reuben Foster, but there was reports that they didn't really like him as much as we thought. And the second thought was that I thought they would go after Dalvin Cook and just round out the offense for Carson Wentz, or even add O.J. Howard as another weapon for Wentz. Um, what more can I say? Derek Barnett again broke the sack record. Round one has been crazy in general. Tons of trades. Houston moving up for a quarterback. You got Kansas City jumping and taking Pat Mahomes ahead of um, ahead of Deshaun Watson. You got Mitch Trubisky. The Bears move up one pick, give up four picks, and the 49ers did a solid job, I thought, of taking who they were going to take anyway, which would have been Solomon Thomas, and then basically trading back a pick, acquiring four picks, and yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. It looks like we have our first phone call. This might be Alex calling in. Alex, is that you?
Yeah, it's me, Ty. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I'm just trying to figure out why they took Derek Barnett with others on the board. It looks like Reuben Foster might have just gone to the Washington Redskins, so now we'll have to face him twice a week. But anyway, let's get your initial reaction. Derek Barnett, how do you
Yeah,
like him as a player, and are you confused why they took him?
you know, I am a little confused. It was actually just to correct you, it was Jonathan Allen that just went to the Redskins.
Okay,
But yeah,
trying to
I'm a little
multitask over
confused.
here.
I mean, you look at what's that?
I said I'm trying to multitask over here.
No worries. Um, so yeah, Derek Barnett. He was kind of the guy that I didn't really want to see. I mean, you look at his tape and he's not like you can tell his 4.88 speed doesn't really show on the tape. I mean, obviously that's slow, but it looks even slower on tape. I mean, and the fact that he has short arms, they were saying, when you look for a DN, one thing you want is quickness off the edge and long arms to at least swat some balls down. I think it's tough to swallow with a guy like Jonathan Allen on the board and Reuben Foster still on the board. I mean, I guess a long deep sigh is my answer right now.
Yeah, I can feel your frustration, and I'm sharing the thing. I'm sure a lot of Eagles fans have the same frustration right now. One thing we brought up yesterday is that at the NFL Combine, he didn't jump off the chart with his measurables, but he is a guy you flick on the tape. He does have a very powerful motor, but we did express concerns about his run help, and I I don't know. It's just I don't,
Yeah.
it's hard to justify this pick and he better pan out. But it's hard to justify this pick when you have other talented players on the board like O.J. Howard, Dalvin Cook, and Reuben Foster sitting there in your lap to take.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, Reuben Foster would have been the guy, or I would not have argued Jonathan Allen even. Um, One thing that it makes me think about is, I mean, the Eagles clearly do not have any confidence in Vinny Curry. Um, I mean, they gave him a very large extension just 2 off seasons ago, and now he's gonna have to play backup again. I mean, he's never had the shot to start,
Yep.
pretty much in his entire career, and the fact that we just drafted a D end in the first round, obviously he's gonna start from day one unless he's Danny Watkins. So it, I just think that
I'm pretty sure
right
Danny
now,
Watkins
now you
even
have to
got
try
a
to get rid
chance.
of Vinny Curry. I mean, we're paying him all this money to be a backup, and we signed Chris Long. So even just as a fit, I never really thought the end in the first round was really the way we should have went. I mean, I understand if he was the highest guy on the draft board, then I guess that's what they wanted to do. Go best player available on the draft board. Just hope Joe Douglas couldn't screw this up.
Well, that's something I brought up as well. I mean, you look, Chris Long comes in, Vinny Curry, Timmy Jernigan they picked up, Bo Allen eventually
Right.
will be healthy. How do you get this guy playing time in his rookie season?
Well, the fact is, he's going to get the playing time. In my opinion, he's going to be starting over Chris Long and Vinny Curry. When you draft a guy 14th overall, he starts from day one. It doesn't even matter. Like, he better start from day one. Like, that's how I look at it, at least. So, in my opinion, Vinny Curry and Chris Long have to take. I saw Chris Long as a depth signing anyway. Not really going to be playing every down.
Yeah, more of a rotational player.
Right, and then obviously we have Brandon Graham on the other end. I think this is the end of Vinny Curry. In my opinion, they better look to move him, or you're going to have a guy making. I don't remember his numbers honestly, how much he's making, but guaranteed money to sit on the bench. And Derek Barnett will start ahead of Vinny Curry and Chris Long.
Chris on Facebook says O.J. Howard was the best available, though. Come on. Would you agree with that? Who would have been your pick?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, who would have been your pick knowing who was left on the board?
My guy would have been Reuben Foster. I know there's
Me too.
some concern over his diluted sample and all that kind of stuff, but in my opinion, he's the best guy. I mean, I think I respect the hell out of O.J. Howard. I think he's a great player, but I'm not drafting him. He may be the best player available, but I also think you have to be smart about it, because then what do you do with Zach Ertz? What do you do with Trey Burton? And you have Brent Selleck still. So I wouldn't have drafted O.J. Howard even if he was my best player available. But that was just me. In my opinion, I think Foster would have been the better pick. Or even a guy like did Humphrey go right before him? I forget. No, he went right after.
Nope, yep.
So even a guy like Humphrey or anybody, like I like best player available along with what the needs are on the team at the time. So
Yeah, it sounds to me that you're kind of in the same boat as me. I really thought they would go best player available at a given position that they really need, and you could argue that they do need another defensive end, given
right.
given the production that Vinny Curry has not given over the last couple years. But it was down on the list. I didn't think they would go corner. I thought if they moved back, they would address the corner position, but I really thought they would either go O.J. Howard or Dalvin Cook to round out the offense, or Reuben Foster sitting there, because chances are Michael Kendricks is going to be traded in the next day or so.
For a bag of balls.
Yeah, exactly. So. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Ty.
I was just going to say, you can comment on that, but let's get your reaction on the draft so far in general. There's been a lot of trades going on, players going where I certainly didn't expect. Let's just get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think the running quarterbacks was something that I haven't seen before, just because of the level of quarterback in this draft. I don't see it as a very good quarterback draft. I think a lot of people might agree on me with that. But, the fact that Trubisky went number 2 and then Mahomes 10 and Watson 12, like, I like Watson and I like Mahomes, but having them at 10 and 12 and trading future first-round picks to move up is highly questionable. I mean, to me at least. That was my surprising thing. And the John Ross to the Bengals, I did not see coming whatsoever. So the quarterback, that many quarterbacks going this early in the draft was very surprising to me.
Yeah, I was certainly shocked that John Ross went so high, and I was definitely shocked at the fact that Deshaun Watson was not the second one off the board, let alone the first. I've expressed my opinion that I think he is the best quarterback, and he's shown it at every level that he's competed at. One
Right.
other thing I just want to get your opinion on before we hang up, and I appreciate your time. Um,
Mm.
what about the fact that the 49ers trade down one pick, acquire a fourth, a second, and two thirds for a player they were probably going to take with the second pick anyway? Did they fleece the Bears, or what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I honestly, it makes me laugh because I'll never understand that. I will never understand how they got that many picks from moving down one spot for a guy. The Bears obviously weren't going to get him, so they didn't even have to move. Like, it's unbelievable. It's Sam Hinkie fleecing the Kings. It's maybe even worse than that. Like, it's unbelievable to me that trade was a thing. Like, you look at it and you're like, what the heck am I looking at? This can't be real. What
Yep.
is this, like Madden? Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Definitely credit to John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan being the new coach out there and GM. They definitely did a great job, and it's clear that they prepared for this draft. I mean, it can't be that hard picking at number two, but to make a move like that and to really make a move that can turn around their franchise fairly quickly, they need a lot of bodies out there. Um, However, I am shocked, and I don't know what they're going to do with the quarterback position now because um, really, the only viable starter out there would be Colin Kaepernick, and he just left that situation. Now you have the top three off the board. I guess there's the
Right.
Sean Kaiser out there, but I don't know how they're going to address that, nor do I, in all honesty, really care. We have our franchise quarterback here, and
Yeah.
that's all that
Right.
matters. But just any more general thoughts before we end the phone call here? Any thoughts on what the Eagles can do in the second round to try and justify this pick?
Yeah. Right. I think it'll be interesting. I think it'll be a real teller what their plan is in this draft, what they do with that second pick. Um, they could go if they go running back, I'll understand it. If they go corner, I'll understand it. But I think to me they'll have to go corner in the second round. Hopefully, maybe Tre'Davious White falls, or one of those kind of guys that are like projected in the early second round will be there. But in my opinion, I would take a corner unless their guy's not there. We don't know the draft board, so the Eagles have the guys that they want. And if their guy's not there, I don't want them to reach. But I could see them maybe looking at an Alvin Kamara in the second round, or maybe a Kevin King from Washington, if you wanted to go corner route. So, in my opinion, I think you have to go corner route, because I think you can get a running back almost any year in the draft, and I think corner's a lot bigger need for us right now.
I'm all
What
for
do
it.
you think, Ty?
I'm all
Have you
for.
talked about it?
No, I have not yet, but I am all for in the second round doubling up on the Tennessee Vols and going after Alvin Kamara. I really, and I'm probably preaching him too highly, but I saw Mike Mayock had him going 29, 28, something like wherever Green Bay picks. That's where he had Alvin Kamara going in the first round, which I was shocked by because a lot of the mock
Hmm.
drafts that I've looked at have him going. Like 50s or 60s, and of course the Eagles are sitting there at I believe 43, so it's right in that range. But they
Right.
definitely do need to get a cornerback as well. I could see them trying to target Sidney Jones, but I mean, to be honest, I am shocked because when Marshawn Lattimore started falling, I was texting everybody that I was talking to. I said they got to move up right now.
Right. Yeah.
Give up one of those first round picks in your first and move up and go get Marshawn Lattimore, the best cornerback in the draft, as he was falling. But they didn't do it. So I got to be honest and say I like the pick of Derek Barnett, but not necessarily at 14. I feel like Howie Roseman and Joe Douglas have to make sure this pans out. Otherwise, their job could be on the line.
No, I definitely agree with that. Who knows? Maybe the Eagles will draft Joe Mixon in the second round. Maybe Gary and Conley in the third round, Caleb Brantley in the fourth. You know what I mean? Who knows?
Yeah, take the all
But
convict team.
yeah, the all-con team. Yeah, the Gridiron
And
Gang.
we'll
That's what
remake the longest yard.
yeah, the longest yard. I think that's what I meant. But Yeah, a can of corn. I think we'll be all right. So, um, yeah, I'm curious, but I'm hoping they make up for my sadness right now. I don't want to say sadness because he could be a great player. I just honestly, I mean, I didn't watch him. I did not watch him live at all in Tennessee this year. I'm not gonna lie. But I watched the film as much as I can as a amateur guy. But you know, let's just hope that it all turns out, and then we're looking back at this interview and we're gonna laugh about it.
And we
So
can replay it on loop and laugh at ourselves. Yeah, exactly. Alex, thank you for your time tonight. I appreciate you jumping on. I know it is somewhat late here on the East Coast as they have to start this thing at 8 o'clock, but thanks for jumping on and thanks for sharing your opinion.
yeah, no problem, Ty. Have a good night.
All right.
Bye.
All right, guys. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and thank you for Alex joining us. I will stay on for a little bit and just talk about Derek Barnett if anyone wants to call in and share their opinion as well. We have Mason, our fine producer, looking at the phone lines. Derek Barnett, what can you say? He's taken with the fourth pick, and there's quite a few people left on the board for the Eagles to take. This the way I look at it is the pick has to pan out, and Derek Barnett is someone who's been touted for having strong hands. He is very good at getting to the quarterback and kind of stretching the end and hopefully him paired with the Eagles now depth at defensive line. We'll see how he can do it. Looks like we have another phone call. Mason, why don't you punch him up there? Hello, welcome into Sporting Edge and SE Radio. What's your name?
Tyler, it's Joe.
Hey Joe, what's going on, buddy?
I am pacing around my basement right now, just in disbelief. I at first I was very upset with the pick just because I really wanted Reuben Foster.
Me too. Me too.
But I had a nice 10-15 minute cool off period to where I regathered my thoughts and I come to the conclusion that they went with the safe choice. There's a couple guys up there that they could have went with who did have some injury questions, some character questions. And really, when you think about it, the big thing that was missing on that Eagles defense last year was the pass rush. Brandon Graham was getting in the backfield, but he wasn't getting the sack totals. He could turn out to be a good player for the Eagles going forward. I've read a lot of mixed reviews on him. There's guys that like him better than Myles Garrett, and then there's people that don't even have him as a first-round talent. Very mixed reviews. His stats speak for himself, but I think that a lot of people are going to be disappointed tomorrow.
Of course, this is the great Joe Fabiani, my broadcast host, and this is why I love you, because you collect your thoughts, you come in, and you tell the people, look, it's not that bad of a pick for the fact that, the Eagles did lack a pass rush, and that's going to help the corners as well. If they can put pressure on the quarterback, it's definitely going to help the secondary out. I'm glad you took some time and called in, and certainly everything you said is true, but it is a disappointing pick off the top of the head. You like I said to Alex, I was watching it. The Eagles make the pick, and I was just kind of speechless. Like I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to react. But let's get your thoughts on the rest of the draft and how it went down and maybe even what pick you would have made. I know you said you really liked Reuben Foster, but maybe I know you were high on O.J. Howard as well. So thoughts on the draft so far?
It's been exciting. Yesterday, I said that there definitely was going to be some trades in the top 20, and man, we got our fill of trades, especially right away at number 2. In terms of guys still available on the board, if I could have had my way, I would have taken Reuben Foster. Obviously, he's still on the board at this point, so that kind of speaks to what the Eagles were really thinking. And even O.J. Howard, who just went to Tampa Bay, it would have been a nice pick, but I think that, after having re-signed Zach Ertz to a long-term deal and then restructuring Selleck and then bringing Burton back on another extension, they probably were just thinking to shore up that D, and that's really where they went. I'm not gonna lie, I'm still a bit disappointed right now, but I hope this kid really proves me wrong.
What did you think about? I know we were texting back and forth. What did you think about trying to move up and grab Marshawn Lattimore as he was sliding? I really thought Buffalo was going to take him to replace Stephon Gilmore. I thought they needed to jump into the top 10 and take him. Did you kind of echo those sentiments, or did you think it was better just to wait?
No, I mean I think that in any other given year, I think that's a move that the Eagles make. I think that's a trade when they're not strapped on picks or basically need to win the draft like they do need to win the draft this year. I think they would have made that move. But just at this point, I don't think they were in a position this year to move up like that to go get a guy that they really wanted.
Yeah, definitely fair enough. Looking at day two, rounds 2 and 3, who do you think the Eagles should target? And what do you think they need to address? Because obviously with Derek Barnett, they addressed the need, but one that is down on the list. Now they really need to focus in on a quarterback, a running back, and a linebacker, and maybe even a wide receiver. Now that Corey Davis and Mike Williams went in the top 10.
Yeah, I can't believe how high all three of those receivers went. I was pretty shocked to see Corey Davis go top five. Yeah, obviously they need to focus on running back and corner. But I think at this point, it's kind of a basically however the draft falls your way. I mean, they said I called the interview with Howie and some of Joe Douglas before I was able to call in, and apparently Derek Barnett was their top player on their board. So
Huh.
I mean, I'm sure you'll go back and watch the interview after this. They're very high on him. But for me, you know, I don't know what they're going to do at this point now. I would think that they're going to try to pick up the best, corner at this spot. I don't even know if when you look at it, just because of how much talent is still there, I don't know if there's going to be, a big run on corner. There could be a lot of corners sitting at, I think it's the 11th pick in the second round
Yeah, it's
tomorrow.
number 43.
So yeah, 43. So yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be a nice amount of corners that they can select from. And then even your boy, who you've been talking up, uh, in Alvin
Kamara.
Kamara, I think
Yeah.
he'd be a nice pickup because he doesn't have a lot of tread on the tires. So I think there's different ways they could go, but running back and corner, obviously, they're two most pressing needs at this point.
Just kind of come full circle back to Derek Barnett. I know we talked about him a lot, and you echoed the sentiment that he's not the greatest in run protection, and I thought that was just a very valid point. He is very good at getting his hands and kind of bending the edge and getting after the quarterback, but uh, I said he reminded me of Brandon Graham a little bit in the fact that he's going to over pursue at the beginning.
Right.
Do you still believe in that, or do you think he'll come out and be kind of a solid starter?
Well, I would think at this point he's going to be able to push for that job, just because Vinny Curry hasn't been able to make that next step. And I also think that the fact that Jim Schwartz is running that wide nine on that front four, that really caters to what he wants to do. I mean, his style is getting after the quarterback, and I think that in this defense he's going to be able to excel in that role. But I think he is going to be a bit over aggressive in the beginning. But yeah, I mean he's gonna have to definitely get better and improve on his run stuffing.
Just one more question for you, Joe, before we get you out of here, and I appreciate the time. Are you surprised that Dalvin Cook is still on the board?
No, I'm not surprised. I thought he would go later in the first round. It seemed like at one point, people were talking about him going in the top 10, and then he kind of really fell out of favor after the combine, going through certain interviews. And it's crazy to think because when you really look at how the board still stands, I mean, when you look at it tomorrow, I mean, Reuben Foster could potentially still be on the board tomorrow. I think it's probably a bit unlikely, but I mean, as the way it stands right now, that could be a possibility. Uh, is it, I'm just still in disbelief about this pick. I'll be honest with you.
No, I hear you. I have a question for you since I haven't been able to pay attention to the draft since I jumped on here. Is Tre'Davious White, is he still on the board?
Yes, Tre'Davious White is still on the board. The Lions are about to select as we speak. Marlon Humphrey went. to the Ravens, and then Adoree Jackson went to the Titans.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah,
Um,
there's definitely
but
been
yeah,
a
no, they still have a good. There's I mean, dude, there's corners that could have been low first round, high second round picks that are going to be picked in the third round this year. So I mean, they're still in a good spot as far as corner goes. But I mean, that's another guy tomorrow that could still be on the board, and Dalvin Cook. I know you're pretty high on him. So I think at this point that they're going to be in good shape in the second round because they're picking kind of early, and a lot of guys fell. That we didn't expect to.
right.
So we'll see how that shakes out.
All right, Joe. Well, I appreciate you jumping on after you cooled off a little bit and giving us some insight. I'm excited to get on with you Wednesday and at our normal time at 8 o'clock. And thanks again for jumping on.
Yeah, I'll be able to to articulate my words better on Wednesday. I'm I'm still a bit anxious over this.
No, I
I'll
hear
be
you.
honest, man.
The entire show is just all over the place, but I figured we'd jump on it and give the people the reaction they deserve.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, boys. Have a good night. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right. Certainly great insight from Joe Fabiani and Alex Whitney, my two partners who helped me out with the live mock draft. Well, I'll stay on for a little bit and see if we get another phone call. Again, you can reach us 267-404-MYSE. That's 267-404-6973. Would love to get your guys' reaction on the 14th overall pick in the 2017 draft, Derek Barnett. I personally am really surprised that the Eagles didn't go out and just make a splash, a more favorable pick in front of their hometown, their home crowd. I really thought that they might take Dalvin Cook and try and wow the crowd and shore up the offense, but sure enough, that didn't happen. Uh, Derek Barnett, what can you say? At really good at being a pass rusher. I feel like he might over pursue as in the run game and kind of be like a Brandon Graham who might get fooled a little bit in his rookie season, but then kind of figures it out and comes along. He doesn't have the greatest measurables. He wasn't one of those guys who really jumped off at the NFL Combine. However, you flip on the tape and you can see that he is just a beast, and he's a freak at getting after the quarterback. He broke Reggie White's sack record at Tennessee with 32 in a 3-year career. The last 2 years he had 10 sacks and 13 sacks, so double-digit sacks in the SEC, pretty impressive. Um, but yeah, I mean, the initial reaction for me was just to kind of sit there and not understand what just happened because Reuben Foster's on the board, Derek Barnett, even O.J. Howard out of Alabama could help out Carson Wentz as they try and turn this team around from 7-9 to a playoff contender. Um, it sounded like from Joe that Howie Roseman and Joe Douglas were very, very high on Derek Barnett. He was the number one on their board. However, I echoed the sentiment that I thought that the Eagles should try and trade up once Marshawn Lattimore was kind of slipping out of the top 10. I think he ended up going 11 to the Saints. I thought the Eagles should jump ahead of Buffalo with Cincinnati and select Marshawn Lattimore, the number one cornerback on the board, and obviously they were linked to Gary and Conley, but why not, as Marshawn Lattimore is slipping, why not go after another person? His counterpart on the opposite side, Marshawn Lattimore, who was the higher rated cornerback. A couple things about the first round. Very surprised that not surprised that Myles Garrett went first. I am very surprised that the Bears and 49ers decided to swap 2-3. The Bears gave up 4 picks and take Mitch Trubisky as the number one quarterback off the board. Um, what can you say? San Francisco did a really good job and obviously it's too early to tell, but I would say that they fleeced them. They got 4 picks. They need to turn around that roster completely. I thought John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan did a great job of trying to accumulate more picks while probably taking the player they were going to take anyway in Solomon Thomas. Very shocked that Big Red in Kansas City traded up and took Pat Mahomes in front of Deshaun Watson, who has proven it on every level that he's competed in. The Texans traded up to number 12 and took Deshaun Watson. Another person that I was surprised that slipped out of the top 10 would be Malik Hooker, the safety from OSU. And then finally, to kind of round that out, John Ross goes number 9 to Cincinnati, along with Mike Williams going number 7 and Corey Davis going number 5. I thought that was the biggest thing. I thought Mike Williams would be the first wide receiver off the board. Corey Davis again had the I believe ankle surgery in the offseason. He will be ready by June, but I thought they would at least one of them would be on the board when the Eagles selected. However, that was not the case. Um, Again, we'll take your reaction. I'll stay on here for a little bit. 267-404 MYSE. You can also comment on the Facebook feed. We have Periscope going, which is linked to our Twitter. I believe we're also on YouTube, but I am not looking at YouTube right now. Um, One thing I did see that was pretty impressive to me, and Mason and I were talking about this before before the draft even started. Joel Embiid goes to the draft, and there are tens of thousands of people around him saying, trust the process. I told Mason that I was actually kind of concerned for him. There were people coming right up to him asking for selfies and all that, and that's all well and good. But people were just like trying to touch it. And this is going to sound bad, but try and touch him. You never know in a crowd like that and it's not even the Eagles fans, but just all the fans that are there. There's alcohol being consumed. I don't know if Joel Embiid should put himself in that kind of position. Again, he wants to take in the festivities. That's great, but I don't know if I'd be doing that as it gets dark while there's 250,000 people fans there. Mason, did you have an issue with that at all? I mean, obviously it's great that everyone's chanting "trust the process," but I don't know. I think safety concerns. I didn't see any bodyguards around him in the video that he was taking.
Nah, there wasn't any bodyguards. I don't think so. But it is Joel Embiid, and he loves to have fun, and so I don't see a problem really. I mean, yeah, he could be a bit smarter. Maybe have maybe a bodyguard or two with him, but it is Joel Embiid. He loves to have fun, so why not?
How'd you feel when Derek Barnett was selected?
Yeah.
There's the
Um,
natural reaction.
I mean, just like you guys, you and Joe and Alex, I would have much rather had Reuben Foster. But, you don't always get what you want.
Yeah, and he's still on the board, so obviously there's something going on. I feel like there's got to be something more than just a dirty urination sample on him. I mean, obviously there was the combine incident where he yelled at a hospital worker, but there's got to be something else. I know there's been a lot of talk about his troubled past. I know he grew up. It's actually a really sad story. His dad, when he was an infant, shot him and his mother, and Foster has grown up in a area that is very high in violence. But I don't know, man. At 14, that would have been my pick, and I don't know what to say. I am truly shocked that the Eagles, and apparently he didn't interview well with the Eagles, but I'm honestly shocked that that would have been the perfect. I mean, he's drawing comparisons to Ray Lewis and Luke Kuechly. How much he's a top 5 talent. I'm shocked. Is there anyone else you would have taken 14 over Derek Barnett?
I mean, I was loving it when Marshawn Lattimore was slipping, and I didn't agree with you when you said that we should trade up for Marshawn Lattimore when he was slipping, because I didn't think we had that many picks. But I
Right. Yeah.
mean, now that he went before us, I mean, yeah, we probably should have traded up for him.
In hindsight, right?
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, Reuben Foster, I was completely expecting him at 14, but now that didn't happen.
What do you think the Eagles need to do in round 2 or 3?
I honestly think we shouldn't even touch running back this year. I mean, maybe later, like fifth, sixth round, we have to go corner and more corner. We have no corners.
No, I definitely hear you with that. Do you think they should? Here's something for you. Do you think they should look at Jamal Charles as an option? Obviously, he knows the offense, and he did work 1 year, and then he got injured last year. But he worked 1 year with Doug Peterson as the offensive coordinator. He would be able to step in, and who knows how that would go injury wise. But maybe he can give you 15 to 20 carries a game.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, maybe for this year, maybe for a 1 year deal. And I mean, it'd have to be cheap because we don't have that much money, do we?
No. But you look at Adrian Peterson. He just signed a 2-year deal for $7 million. I mean, you got to think that you can get Jamal Charles on a 1 or 2 year deal for 3, maybe even 2.5 a year. I feel like the Eagles might be able to maneuver that, especially if they trade Michael Kendricks and maybe even Jason Kelsey. That'll take some money off your books. But who knows, man? They got to figure this out because they took a player. And granted, Derek Barnett, I think he will turn out to be a very good, not incredible and not game-changing player, but I think he will turn out to be a solid defensive end. Um, but the Eagles need to figure it out because they went with a defensive end instead of a cornerback, a running back, a linebacker, really a position of need. Again, interested to hear your guys' thoughts. I'm reading some comments as we go on Facebook, and everyone just seems like they are confused, just like us. But you guys can text us 267-404 MYSE. You can also leave us a message at that number, and we will play it. Maybe Wednesday we'll play a couple reactions if you guys want to hit us up during the week. Just leave a message. But I think that's going to wrap up our initial reaction to Derek Barnett being the number one selection for the Eagles at pick 14 in the draft. And thank you guys all for tuning in. Have a great week and enjoy the next 2 days of the draft.